You said what?
All right, we're live. All right. I'm so excited about this evening. You're watching Odunde 365 Convo with the CEO. I'm so excited to have our wonderful guest this evening, Mr. Omar Sabir. He is the city commissioner here in the city of Philadelphia. Omar, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here. I'm honored to
Yes.
be here.
I'm so honored that you could fit us in your schedule because you have a very busy schedule. So I'm very thankful that you could fit us in your schedule. So Omar, we're just going to start off. How was it growing up? How was it growing up?
Well, real quick, I just
where
want
did you grow up?
to.
Where
I
did you
just
grow
want to
up?
before we just get into that, I just want to. It's something very important. It's time pressing.
Yes,
Today is
go
the
ahead.
deadline for you to apply for your voter registration. So if you're hearing this, please, you can get registered right now.
Yes.
If you are a felon, if you're homeless, right, those things don't restrict you from getting registered to vote in the upcoming election. So today is the deadline. You can go to votespa.com. You can go to philadelphiavotes.com and you can get registered. Or if you want to bring your paper voter registration form in person, you can come down to Delaware and Spring Garden. We'll be there till 11:59 tonight. That's how serious it is. You can come drop it off.
So can they pick up the application there too? Can they do like the whole process at
Yeah,
Delaware
we
Spring
got
Garden?
everything there. We got the
Okay,
applications.
great.
We got everything. We'll make sure that that you be able to get it. To get what you need.
We need everybody to get out there and vote. So tell everybody one more time, Omar, what's the importance of voting? We're gonna start backwards. Let's talk about the importance of voting.
Backwards.
Yes.
Honestly, voting is two reasons why I tell people to vote. Right.
Yes.
You get resources for your community, and you get accountability from elected officials. Right.
Yes.
We all want grants. We all want funding. We want jobs. We want all these different access things to come to our community. Right. And the people that vote are going to get those things, right? It's very simple, right? The campaigns, they evaluate who's voting, who's not voting. And that's who they start, spending their resources on to convince you to elect them in office. And it starts out with the campaign side first, right? Certain people are going to get mail, certain people aren't going to get mail. And the way how with the software now, you can look at your software and you can tell, okay, what houses are voting, who's voting, who ain't, who's a super voter, who isn't. And they mail those people. They don't have to mail the whole block anymore. They don't have to get no money to just get somebody to distribute to this whole area. And then these are things that we're seeing, right? So it starts off at the campaign level. So if you're not receiving campaign mail, stuff like that right now, right now you're not on that priority. And the reason why you're probably not getting a whole bunch of information is because you're not voting, right? So you want to change, it's called ballot behavior, right? And this is what we want to change so that way we can get the resources that we need for our community. Another reason why I'm asking to vote is so that we can get accountability from elected officials. Again, if you don't vote, you don't count, right? When you call an elected official and this, right? Doing the things that you're doing, got to get permits, at the end of the day, you have to participate in the election process to get people to listen to you. Or you have to have sort of representation, whereas though those elected officials know this person has access to people that vote. And they're going to respond to you. And so that's the reason why, the more you vote, the more you get. It's not about campaigns. It's not about being a politician. Sometimes we get, some people get deflated in their emotions. Oh, this politician, he let me down. This one went to jail. This one, oh, they all corrupt and they don't want to be involved. No, again, the more you vote, the more you get. You do it for your community. You want money, right? And you want accountability from elected officials. That's the only reason why you vote.
So how about like you said, the disenchanted voters who say, oh, it's not going to make a difference? What do you say to them, Omar?
Well, again, what I did was first, when we was doing outreach, first I was kind of like, I wasn't listening to people, I was preaching to people, right? So I had to listen about people, why they wasn't participating in the process. And as I heard the reasons why, that's what helped us craft up the message, that the more you vote, the more you get. And, you do it for yourself as opposed to the candidates, right?
Okay.
And before I used to be like, oh, man, people die for our right to vote. Man, you ain't voting, you're not voting. I ain't talking to you. Yes. Right. And then, sometimes I was being a hypocrite too, because sometimes I wasn't voting, right? I wasn't always the voter my whole entire life.
Don't say that.
No, I'll be honest with you. It was got a point in time, just moving around. I was just like, this voting stuff. I mean, my dad, God rest his soul,
Yes.
He would call us up on election day, every day, and I would just come out and vote, just because he told me to vote, right? I'd be like, who we voting for, Dad? With the union stuff.
Yes.
But I didn't want to let him down, so I would call him up, and then I would do those things. Then as time went on, me going to college, moving back and forth, it was like, it was an important election. I come and do it, but it was just like sometime. But then as I got older, started having children, started seeing the
Yes.
importance of it. I
Yes.
don't miss an election. I never miss an election. I like looking at my name and seeing being a super voter.
That is
I
so
can't.
great because I think that is key, especially for the younger generation. Omar, what would you tell the younger generation about this whole voting process?
Well,
I'm talking about
again,
the ones who fresh 18 to, let's say 18 to 30. I mean, because a lot of them are so like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I talked to some of the young guys in my neighborhood. Oh, Miss Boomy, they're still going to stop me when I'm walking down the street. They're still going to, so how can we get them involved? Because I mean, I'm interested because I'm willing to help.
well, again, the one of the things, again, what we have done, uh, again, was getting into hearing what the reasons, what they wanted.
Why they weren't.
And so
Okay.
it was listening to their policies about the things that they wanted,
Yes.
whether it was police reform, some people talking about the environment, some people say, hey, man, I want. So we listen to all these different issues that people have, and then we listen. Then those traditional issues aren't the same traditional issues.
Mhm.
I'll give you an example. Like some people don't like entitlement programs. Maybe 30, 40 years ago, food stamps, LIHEAP, those are big issues.
Yes.
But a lot of people now, this next generation that's working every day, they're like, nah, man, I don't, that welfare, nah. You know what I mean? People don't need welfare. You know what I mean? I work hard every day. Why are they getting breaks? Why are they buying seafood crabs and I got to go work? So so we have to really define what those policies are, right? It's a larger conversation. Really have to spend time and really, talk and see exactly where everybody mind at. Because it was a point in time where you could just paint, a black brush. Say, okay, here's what black people wanted.
Yes.
Now we start talking about, African American communities, even communities all across the whole diaspora. It's all
Yes.
different. So we really got to sit down and really talk and really see, okay, what exactly what people want. But I tell you, I just really started listening to people, right? And I just try to get the commitment because some people's like, we know these politicians are corrupt. I just, what exactly are you looking for? And then I try
Yes.
to find whatever similarities, you know what I mean, it is you can get by voting. And
Yes.
even if we walked away with you hating the candidates or these candidates didn't have any opposition, there was no reason they're going to win,
Mhm.
I'll revert it back to the ballot questions. It's always an issue, right? Every time you
Yes.
vote yes or no, you're going to bring resources back in your community. And then we
Yes.
turn those no's and maybes to yeses. And then once
Wow.
you get them in the booth, they're going to do, whatever they want to do. But again, it has to be about issues and
Okay.
not politicians. We got to change the policies over politicians.
That's right.
We got to
Yeah,
get to
that's
what people
powerful.
want. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Here's our agenda. No matter who we're gonna get, they're gonna serve these different things. We want to say, listen, we want a Dune Day to be a priority, in your budget. You know what I mean to you? We on this budget. This should be inside your budget. Do you agree with that? Once we get to be more politically mature and we're looking at these things, it really don't matter who gonna serve you as long as you come out to vote, to be honest with you.
That's right. That's right. And like you said, it's about the person. It's about you going out, you doing it for yourself. You know what I mean? I think that you using that strategy is really key. You know what I mean? Compared to like you said, trying to say like vote because you gotta vote because your grandfather fought for it. That's very important. But also you're gonna vote for yourself because a lot of people who have children, I know Dr. Wardlaw's on here, she says how she takes her children to vote with her. I think it's very important that you take your children to vote with you. I used to do that when my children were younger. Take them to vote with me. Do you think that's good, Commissioner?
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
now this whole vote by mail thing,
Yes.
it changed everything up a little bit. But since we got these new satellite offices open now,
Mhm.
I purposely put mine in the mailbox because I was telling people, to vote by mail. I just want to see how it all work.
Yes.
I put my vote by mail thing in there on Tuesday. It
Yes.
got to our office by Thursday, so it was a 2-day lapse. It was good. Now, granted, I took it down to 30th Street.
Because you can also, Omar, I heard that you can track your mail-in ballot. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct. Yeah, if you go to
Yes. Yes.
votespa.com, you can track it. And then
You can track
then
it.
yeah, and then if you put a valid email on your application,
Hmm.
It's going to come directly. It's going to you're going to get an email after it's turned in. So again, so it's a
Omar.
pretty good um, system. It's
Yes.
the same way how Amazon, everything else that we do barcodes. Every ballot has
Yes.
a barcode, so it's not just a piece of mail just floating around. And then and you can request, a replacement ballot. If you put the application and you don't receive the ballot, you can go to one of our satellite locations. These satellite locations are good because
Mhm.
they are extensions of our office. So if you have questions as you receive your ballot, you can request your ballot in person. You got somebody live to talk to, and they can walk you through the whole entire process of the way how you're supposed to
I
vote.
think people don't know that, Omar. People don't know about the satellite office. I didn't know. I mean, I'm not afraid to. I didn't know. So how do we find out where our nearest satellite office is in our neighborhood, whether it's South Philly, North
Okay,
Philly, Germantown, Mount Airy? How do you find it?
okay, okay. So you go to PhiladelphiaVotes.com.
Mhm.
PhiladelphiaVotes, all one word.com. Everything is on there. If you follow me, I'm at Omar for Philly on my social media. I always post a lot.
Yes.
My other colleagues, Lisa Daly and Al Schmidt, they post stuff all the time. But
Okay.
again, PhiladelphiaVotes.com, that's the website. And
Okay.
they'll tell you all the locations there, tell you all the updates. You can find your polling locations. You can
Okay.
check your registration. You can check your ballot. They got everything on there. And it's PhiladelphiaVotes.com.
Yeah. I think that you really have no reason not to vote or also not to be informed about voting because there's so much information out there. All you have to do is Google it, put it in a search engine, and it comes out. So I really think people have no reason really not to go out and vote. This is a very key election.
Listen, every election, in my opinion, is key, right?
Yes.
Because in the next 6 months, we're going to have the judges, we're going to have the district attorney, we're
Yes.
going to have the city controller, right? All
Yes.
of those are going to be on the ballot, so that's very important. A judge can change your life. Like, judges affect you every single way. The district attorney affects your life every single day.
Yes.
And, the way how we vote for those elections are just like, wow, you know what I mean? So, again, those elections, like, there's more of those elections than presidential elections. And unfortunately, some people typically only vote on the presidential elections. And that's going to be our job, right? One of the things that the younger people were complaining about was that, we only see you guys during election time, right? So we have to
Mm.
come out all year long, right? The
Yes.
series that we're doing, we have to keep the conversation, keep the dialogue going that we're listening to you.
I was
And when
going to
someone
ask you this.
feels good that someone's listening to them,
Yes.
they're going to be feeling more empowered. There's also
Yes.
other things that we can hire different people as well from the community as well. Once they get hired, once they get a little paycheck, they understand, okay, you know what, this government thing ain't too bad. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's a collaborative effort, and like I think we're going to be successful. I mean, I think now we're starting to see, uh, you know, since 2016, voter turnout has been going up, going up, going up.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff going on, so that's a great thing. One of the things
Mhm.
that we saw with President Barack Obama is we saw
Yes.
high voter turnouts, but then we saw people feeling deflated, and then people stopped voting. Whatever expectation they thought they was
Mm.
going to get from having the first African American president,
Yes.
people then they stopped coming out, and it was like, wow, like people was happy, then they got sick. So again, that's the emotional thing, right? I'm voting, but
Yes.
we got to
Yes.
get into those principles, man. Here's the reason why we
Yes.
come out and do it, because I tell you,
Hmm.
other parts of, like, the city, I mean, other parts of the state, other parts of the country,
Yes.
they come out because they feel it's their duty, right? And we don't feel like a lot of
Mm.
times that it's our duty to be
Yes.
a part of this stuff, to vote, to do jury duty. I mean, all these different things, like, we have to do these things, you know what I mean? We have to serve, and that's,
Yes.
we have to do it.
Yes. So Omar, you spoke about people the people who might be running for office, how they know who voted and didn't vote. But from your office, knowing who didn't vote, does that tell your office what different locations that you really have to zone in on to get the voter registry to get the vote the people in that area to vote more? Do you also use that information to help you and your team get better and to inform people about the importance of voting? Like if you go to different neighborhoods, if you say like, so maybe South Philly was strong, but you know, Southwest wasn't strong. So we're going to concentrate on Southwest because they're not voting like they should be. Does your office always use that? I don't want to say if you can't say, you don't have to answer it, but do you also use that information for your team?
Oh, well, I mean, the whole idea is, I want to see, different areas get more attention from
Mm-hmm.
elected officials. If you look
Yes.
at a map and you look at the participation, you'll see
Mm-hmm.
like where it's a lot of crime. Where you're going to see schools that aren't having the appropriate funding that it needs.
Mm-hmm.
And voter turnout, even with this whole trash thing, right? When we
Yes.
started seeing delays with the trash, right?
Yes.
The areas that don't vote, their trash was getting picked up like later. You can see big globs of trash is everywhere. And so me being a person I am, I pay attention to a lot of stuff now. I start looking at the numbers. Like that's all
Yes.
I be is just number person now. I just be like, oh my god, this area don't vote, and it can even broken down to like divisions, which is almost like a little 2-3 block area
Mm-hmm.
radius, and
Mm-hmm.
you can see even it might be in an area where the voter turnout is like might not be that high, but certain
Yes.
little pockets vote, and you just see
Yes.
the difference. Like I noticed that when I
Wow,
was like
Omar.
knocking on doors, like when you knock on doors sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and you might look at areas of people that vote all the time versus
Yes.
houses that don't. You start seeing trash and all that kind of stuff in front of certain people's houses. I mean, yo, it's crazy. Like when you really look at it,
Yes.
I was like, wow. I mean,
Yes.
yeah,
I
it's
would have
like
never,
you know what I
I
mean.
would have
So
never
it's
connected the dots to that.
yeah. So I mean, so again, so it's something bigger than just telling people come out to vote, right? It's
Yes.
about like citizenship, like you just being a whole, better citizen, and you trying to get things, for your community. Like it's a community based reason on why you're, want to spend your time to participate in the process. And that your decision and your input is needed. And we need you. And also we have to, you know, uh, be optimistic, right? We got to share optimism with people because people are okay if I vote. What's going to be different? My neighborhood's not going to be the same, right? And then we got to say, oh, wait a minute. You know what I mean? There was a point in time we might could go back when this area was nicer.
Mm-hmm.
People were voting, right? And so we
Yep.
already tried this non-voting thing, right? This non-voting
Mm-hmm.
thing don't work, right?
Mm-mm.
The numbers, started going down. So at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's why people started to neglect, your schools. That's why people started neglecting your neighborhood when you stop want to participate in the process.
Yes.
And if we get those numbers back up, we're going to start seeing the
Mm-hmm.
changes that we need.
Mm. So, Omar, let's kind of switch lanes a little bit. We want to talk about how did you get here? How did you get here to being the city commissioner for the city of Philadelphia? So, tell us about your background in regards to growing up, what schools you went to, high school, college. Let's tell us your background. How did you get here?
Okay, so as younger, I went to private Islamic school.
Okay.
I went to Sister Claire Muhammad School
Okay.
up into fifth grade. So
Okay.
that was it was a makeshift, you know what I mean? It wasn't like an exclusive like school, but it was people there that cared, right? That didn't want to see their
Mm-hmm.
children being exposed to the public schools. So it was a
Got you.
bunch of, parents just working, hard together. There was a lot of people that were in college and they dropped out of college just to teach us. Like when I
Wow.
started talking to a lot of those teachers, they was in like their second, third year. Some was at University of Penn. I mean, they was good, but they dropped out of school to teach the kids so the kids can have a better future.
Okay.
And I was right over at 47th Street, and then we went to public school. So I graduated from Bach High School.
Oh, you came to South
And
Philly?
yeah, right. No, I'm from West Philly, but
Yes.
I didn't want to go to school with my friends in West Philly because I knew I was going to end up in trouble. Right.
Okay.
So I said, you know what? Let me go down South Philly. And one of my best friend that I went to school to get away from,
Yes.
unfortunately, when I was in college, he was murdered. Right. So it was just kind of like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, but I knew he was my man. I had to get away from him. You know what I mean? So I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and go to school down South Philly. It was a magnet school. Took the test. Went
Yes.
down there, took a trade, and played football.
Okay.
And so, I got through it. But I was like a C student. I was just like, college maybe. And I wanted to go into the union. That's
Yes.
all I wanted to be was like a union. I wanted to be a carpenter. My dad was like, man, I think you should think about college, man. But I was like, nah, it's cool. I want to, be a union guy. I want to be just like you. You know what I mean? So he was like, all right, cool. My dad really wasn't the guy that would probably push you to try to go one way or other. He would just get a little hint out there, think bigger than that.
Yes.
And so I was just like, eh. So then I received a call from Brother Anthony. I'll never forget, it was in like August. Brother Anthony from Cheney University. He was like, look, man, I got this application I'm looking at right here, man. You
Mm-hmm.
want to go to college or you don't, man? What's up? You coming or what? And I'm like, college? He's like, yeah, I got your application. You can come right in. And then he just took me in. He was like, look, man, come on up here. So then I got accepted to Cheney on a conditional. right? So it was like a summer program where they
Mhm.
brought you up to speed, and then so it's like summer enrichment program.
Yes.
Went to Cheney. I was playing football. I'd stopped playing football. I had to
Okay.
focus on my books,
Yes.
and so I ended up with a B plus average, honors
Wow,
program.
Omar. Yes.
Yeah, and so then I started teaching at the same school that I went to the elementary school.
So you
So I
got your
started my
degree in elementary ed?
no, my degree was in recreation and community development.
Okay. And
But
but you
so I
went
was
back
like
to
the
this.
phys ed teacher. Yeah, so I was the phys ed teacher. I came
Okay.
back to that private school. I started teaching, like in a private school. You know what I mean? Which was no money.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It was hard, right? So,
Yes.
but I had like my printing business, and I was, doing print work. Was doing art. I was still, being a union laborer. So I was doing like three things while I was like teaching.
Oh, you were doing three jobs.
And I
Yes.
was on
Because
like three
let's talk about
jobs.
your print. Let's talk about your print company. How successful that was, and how did you start? How did you get into the printing business?
So again, so while I was in college, it was a gentleman, older gentleman. He was bringing his shirts to the barber shop. He was selling his shirts. I'm like, man, what you doing with them Jones? Me and my
Mhm.
brother, we just started, working with him, and my other brother Bilal. So it was six of us. But I got me and my other brother. We started getting with him, and he showed us the business. Like he just showed us the business. Like his son didn't really want to do it. So he's like, I'll just show you how
Mhm.
the business, and then just started from there. So it was good,
And you and your brother just branched off from there.
huh?
You and your brother
Right,
just branched
right,
off from
right,
there.
right. So we branched off from there, and then
Mhm.
we had ended up. So then I was doing, shirts campaigns for people, political
Mhm.
people, stuff like that. We
Yes.
doing work for the union. We doing, it was all right, right? So,
Yes.
we floating, but then there was a campaign with State Representative Louise Williams Bishop,
Mhm.
and so she had Will Mega was running against her, and that was that election, and so she was older, ready to retire, and there was a younger guy running against her. He said, "I need some young people around me," and then I was her driver, and yeah, I was her driver, and man, like that was an experience that what I
Was
didn't
it
know.
Omar?
Yeah, in politics, like the driver is like the top, like that's the top grade job. Like I didn't know. I'm like her driver. Like whatever. I was happy to be the driver. What I didn't notice
Yes.
that she was basically grooming me, to run for something. I'm like, I'm
Get
sitting
out
there
of
with my
here,
pants
Omar.
down, like, and she
Yes.
just like, she never judged me. She's like, okay, cool, and then as I started taking her to places,
Mhm.
I started feeling out of place wearing jeans and stuff like that. So I started getting, button up shirts, slacks, stuff like that,
Yes.
driving to these locations. But what that was doing was building relationships that I didn't
Yes.
even know was even being built. And
Yes.
then a traffic court judge. So we won that election, right? It was a blowout.
Won that election.
It
Okay.
was a blowout, right? And then a traffic court judge seat had opened up, and I ran for that. She was very supportive. And the thing was, we won, right? Came in first place.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, for traffic court judge.
Yes.
But then as soon as we won, they changed the rules and then they disbanded the courts. So they got rid of the
Oh,
courts.
yes.
And so as soon as I win, like in like the primary, by the time the summertime come, they're like, well, no, we're just gonna get rid of the whole thing because of the corruption and everything else. I
Yes.
was gonna try to come down there to clean up everything. I was like, wow, you know what? This dumb politics stuff. I mean, I was defeated. I really felt
Yes.
like, you know what? That's the reason why we don't be involved in this stuff, man.
Yes.
I'm dumb, man. Why would I think like I mean somebody like me could be a judge? I mean, it was
Yes.
it was a deep piece, right? I mean, I'm
But
in
at least
traffic with
I
all of the
love your
barbershop.
transparency. I love your transparency, Omar,
Yeah,
because you're
I mean,
letting
it
people
was
know
it
that.
was so at that point I really was like, you know what, forget politics. That's what in my mind is what I was thinking. Like
Yes.
in the topics of the barbershops, people like, that's the reason why I won't deal with politics. Man, still see what they did to you. So that was a tough piece. It's like I won fair and square, did everything I was supposed to do.
Yes.
And then, they I went up to Harrisburg, took the classes to be a judge. I mean, everything. I did all that stuff.
Mhm.
So it was challenging. And then
Mhm.
Senator Vincent Hughes, he called me up and said, "Hey, man, do you want to work and serve the people?"
Mhm.
So I'm like, "Yo, Senator Hughes, like, I know you voted against it, but the state senate, y'all got rid of my job." In my mind, I'm like, man, I can't believe this guy got a audacity to add me working for the
Mhm.
same place that got rid of my job. I'm like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And I thought about it. And I talked to State Representative Louis Williams Bishop. I said, "What's up with Senator Hughes, man? He a good dude." She said he's a decent man. You know, you're gonna learn a lot from him. That's
Yes.
all she said about him. I said, you know what? If she said that, and she don't say that about a lot of people, I like just to move. And then I was with Senator Hughes for the last 6 years. And while we was there, so he was the Democratic Appropriations Chairman, so getting the RCAPs, serving the community, all that stuff, was a
Learned all
beautiful
that.
learning experience. Because when
Yes.
I first got to his office, I'm thinking I'm going to be doing big stuff. I'm like, I won an election before. I'm this, I'm that.
You ain't you
You
doing
got
no
to
more.
answer the phones, bro. Like that's the first thing. I'm like, what? Where my desk at? They're like, Desk, you ain't
Yes,
got no desk, man. You
yes.
sitting right out here in this little cubicle. I'm like, what?
You answering phone. But that's
But
how
but that
I realized. But that's how powerful people weed out who really want it. Do you understand? That's what I believe. When I work with a lot of powerful people like Lana Felton Gee, Barbara Daniel Cox, and they test you to see if you're really about that life, as we say in our generation. See if you're really about that life. So I think that I don't want to speak for Senator Hughes, but probably he was trying to see if you really wanted it. Would you agree?
so I learned so much from him. Within
Yes.
that 6 years, I ended up being his office manager.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the voting stuff with the election codes, a lot of stuff get done up in Harrisburg anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So as time go on, and just for me,
Yes.
it just never really set well with me that the people that always need the most help wasn't
Yes.
voting. I used to like, yeah, I need the government autonomy. I don't vote. In my mind, I was always wondering like why. And
Wow.
that still puzzles me today. I still don't know the answer to that. I wish I did. But a lot of
What's
people
your
that
answer
need
to
like
it?
y'all should be voting more than anybody else. But
Mm-hmm.
that's something that just was always sticking with me. Different voting
Yes.
reforms, stuff like that we always wanted to do. Those are
Yes.
things that he always was advocate for in Harrisburg. And so when the city commissioner spot had opened up, it was like, do you want it? Everybody was saying, no, do you want it? We want you down there.
Mm-hmm.
I ran for it in 2015. I came up short.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and
How did
then
how did you
came
how
in.
did how did you how did you use that loss to propel you? How did you keep going after that?
Well, so with 2015, right? Again, I came off of an election in 2013. I
Mm-hmm.
was in first place. I was getting lazy. I thought like, oh, I could just win this election. I could just walk in. And I don't think I respected the game. Like, you know what I mean? There was
Mm.
things that I like to look at. You know what I mean? I said, you know what? It just wasn't my time. This guy didn't, want me to have it.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
just my first initial thing. But then I looked at, okay, I didn't run a great campaign. I
Okay.
thought, people's gonna fall in line. I won for one position. I thought they were just gonna fall in line and say that. And to be
Mm-hmm.
frank, I mean, I didn't know the other position. I don't think as well. You know, what I mean,
Okay.
I don't think I did it. You know what I mean? So what I did was I looked internally at myself. I said, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? Let me invest in myself. And again, I thought that was the last time I was ever going to run again. I said, forget all this
Oh.
campaign stuff. I said, let me go hustle. Let me get I went and got my insurance license. I was like, I'm gonna sell life insurance. I'm gonna try to get an
Yes.
insurance business, open up a business. And I started getting in shape. I started, eating right. I did
Mm-hmm.
everything. I just had to look at myself and see how can I improve myself. And as I
Yes.
started improving myself, people would just say,
Yes.
"Oh man, you know what, man, this next seat opening up for you. We want you. We want you."
Yes.
And it was just, I ain't gonna say it was easier, but
Mm-hmm.
it was just like I was already prepared. And I was just still doing the advocacy work that I was doing
Yes.
in regards around voting. We established a campaign called Vote Philly Vote, where we
Okay.
partnered with social media influencers. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we was working hard in the
That was
2018
smart. Yes.
midterm election,
Yes.
and same concept. The more you vote, the more you get. We was talking to people,
Yes.
communicating with people. And
Yes.
then, when 2019 came around, it was just like I was just a clear pick. It was
Yes.
a tough race because we still had it was a lot of it was an unprecedented race because people knew the presidential race was coming up. So
Mm-hmm.
it was the most money that was ever spent in the city commissioner's race that we ran in 2019.
Wow.
Most money. People was getting TV commercials. I mean, it was heavy,
Yes.
but I came in first place again.
Came in first place again. So Omar, how
First
many
place
people
again.
ran? How many people ran for the position? How many people ran for the slots? There were
It
three
was like
slots.
14 people. 14 people
Oh,
for two
14
spots.
people ran.
Yep. So I
Oh.
came in first, and then
Mm-hmm.
Lisa Dilly, she came in second.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and we did what we did. Again, we was talking to the community, community outreach. People was happy. People was like, man, you stuck with it. We got your back. I'm like, man, where was y'all at last time?
I
Nah,
know that's
man, we
right,
just
Omar.
saw you.
Wow.
And so
That is
so so
great,
here we are
Omar.
now. And again, and some other things as well too. Like,
Mhm.
I'm really not a politician, right? And I
Okay.
was just noticing that today when I was at a press conference with the mayor.
Mhm.
Like, I have a speech impediment. Like, I'm an introvert. Like,
You would never know that, Omar. You would never
I
know
don't do
that.
this political stuff. I really don't.
Yes.
But at the end of
Yes.
the day, I mean, I'm in this position. God wanted me here,
That's
so
right.
we're going to try to serve the people as best as
Mhm.
possible.
Yep. Omar, you would never know. You do truly have a story. So Omar, as we wind down, Omar, what do you do to wind? What do you do to relieve stress?
Oh, so I just gotta get away. Like, I can't. Like, when I'm here,
Yes.
I'm like a workaholic. So
Okay.
I just get my wife, kids. We just get an Airbnb and we just be out. We just gotta
Okay.
get away.
Gotta get
Because if I'm
away.
here, I'm gonna call somebody. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I
Yes.
just put the phone down. Even like the places where I go to places where I don't have good service at either.
Okay.
So, you can't even call me. And then, I'm gone. And, that's basically what I do, and I just look at little different places, what I mean, where I can sit back, relax. I
Mhm.
like to swim.
Mhm.
Uh, I like to read. Like, that's the
Okay.
main thing when I notice. Like, you got to be able to, like, educate yourself on different topics on how you can be, like, better. You got to invest in yourself. And
That's
so that's
right.
kind of like what I do. I invest in myself. And then I always try to look at people that's more successful than me. So I
Mm.
try to reach out to whoever, is who I dream about, where I look at, what I mean, and my bucket list is getting smaller and smaller.
Oh,
So say a
great.
prayer for me because I'm working on a few things. One of the things I wanted to do, I wanted to be on 60 Minutes. So I got to the last interview of 60 Minutes, and then something changed. Right, they didn't. So they put me on a online. They felt so bad for me. They put me on a online thing. It's like, oh man, you was working on this, John. So they
Yeah.
put me on an online piece. So I got on that, which
Yes.
was fine. But that experience of actually, I got interviewed by Bill Whitaker. And
Wow.
that was like a phenomenal piece because that lined me up to be on like the Circus,
Uh-huh.
Showtime. Again, I was quoted in New York Times, LA Times, Bloomsburg,
Wow.
Politico, all these different, national publications,
It all fell in place.
it all fell in place. And so now we're
Yes.
working on this other story. It's this guy that used to work for the Wall Street Journal. He's doing like a documentary. He's on like a radio piece. So this
Okay.
piece can get aired on NPR, National Public Radio. That's like my
That's
bucket
big
list. This is
time.
sort of stuff.
Omar, that's big time. I think I don't know anyone that has held that position that has been on so many different
Nope.
national and international platforms. I don't know no one.
No, no. And
Hmm.
the scary thing about it is like my email. We had to actually hired like the spokesperson.
Hmm.
I'm getting like emails from like all over the world that's interested in Philadelphia, and because
Wow.
Philadelphia, is the path to the presidency, right? The
Yes.
Pennsylvania is. So
Yes.
whoever wins Pennsylvania, they have over 80% chance of winning the White House.
Wow.
So again, it's like we seeing all these different things. So sometimes you take steps back, like even with the
Hmm.
traffic court thing, how that didn't manifest, and
Yes.
then I lost before, and I still stuck with it. And
Yes.
now for us to be here, like I'm leapfrogging past a lot of people that was in certain positions, but sometimes it's just I don't know. This is God, man. It's just God's
That's right.
plan,
That's
and I'm just
right.
here, just
But
trying to.
but also, Omar, the reality is that Omar, you have had your trials and tribulations, and that is part of your story. You understand? Because most people are going to think that you just woke up and became the city commissioner, but there's a story behind that. You know, Omar, there's a story behind that. So that was so important that you've told your story, that you're being transparent about that.
Again, and I tell people all the time, some people, they looking up, they want the spot, they want to be in front of the
Mm-hmm.
spotlights and all that. Listen, man, it's a lot of work that went,
This.
into that. You know what I mean? Even like with the whole 60 Minutes piece, like I really wasn't mad because they interviewed my colleague, right? So
Yes.
my colleague Al Smith, they just featured him. He was a Republican. So
Mm-hmm.
they kind of like feature him. So they did like
Mm-hmm.
two or three, which is fine. So I'm happy for him. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's like his story. Like, you know what I mean? For him working longer than me and all that. And he ended up being on 60 Minutes. Like, that was cool. Like, so again, it's like, you work hard. They say you work hard to be an overnight success. It's like,
Hmm.
people looking like, oh
Yeah.
man, how you get all this props? I'll do this. Hey man, then I put my dues in.
I know
You know what
that's
I
right,
mean?
Omar.
And so,
Yep.
again, at the end of the day, it's like when that moment comes, you got to step up and, we got to deliver. And I
And you
feel
know,
good that we're going to deliver.
And you know what also, Omar, is that I saw TD Jake said one time, everyone wants the light, but they don't want the heat that come along with it, right? Because see, Omar, all this time they're just spending the different press conferences. You're here, you're in Southwest. I see you everywhere. That's taking time from your wife and your children and your family. So how do you find that balance between your family and this work life that's very demanding?
Well, again, so I wasn't going to run again. Again, I told you I was done.
Yes.
I was like, I'm cool. You know what I mean? My oldest daughter, she has special needs.
Okay.
She's autistic. She's nonverbal, right? So
Okay.
she go to a special school out in Jersey, go to
Yes.
Bancroft. You know, she travels like 45 minutes a day to and from the school. You know, they do a great job out there.
Yes.
And again, like I told you before, I got 6 children. My
Yes.
oldest will be 11 in December, and my youngest is 8 months. So I was telling my wife, like, you know, I'm fine. But she was like, oh, no, 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 no.
Oh,
You gonna
she was
you
supportive.
going to
Yes.
assume your position. Like,
That's right.
nah, don't worry about none of that. Like, you going, I mean, you going to take care of your business. You know what I mean? You know, I got this. You know, you
Wow,
take care of your
Omar.
business. It's bigger than all that. You know what I mean? And you got to
Wow.
understand your place. So when you do a good job, you know, that's a reflection on the people that's coming from behind you. You know what I mean? You're
That's
going to
right.
represent that name. You know what I mean? I'm
That's
like, you
right.
know what? Wow. When she said that
Wow.
to me, I thought she was going to be like, don't do it. Don't run no more, you know. She was like pushing me. And I was like, you know what?
Oh, that's
She
great. When
gave
you
me the
have
blessing. I said, you know what?
that's
Let's
right. When
do
you
this
have a
thing.
supportive spouse, I have one too. It really makes a difference.
Yeah, yeah. It
Yes.
makes a huge difference.
Yes.
And again, you know, and with this homeschooling stuff and all that. So again, you know, we make time. I mean, again, you know, no matter what time I come in, my kids, if I come in at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, whatever time they hear that door close, they get up out their bed, they jump down,
Oh,
and we have like basically like a little party like every night. Like, yo, what's up? I
oh,
gotta
that's
tell y'all to go back
great.
in the bed. So every time
That's
I come up,
great.
they all as soon as they hear that door shut, they run downstairs, and we just, you know, every time I eat a snack or something, like we just sit back, we catch up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They all and I'm supposed to be doing that every time I go back to bed. And my wife's like, oh, every time you come in, they always get all messed up, man. You disrupt we should say disrupt the
You don't
motion of
mess
the
up the
house.
whole. You don't mess up the whole routine.
Yeah, the whole routine. They all in the bed sleeping. Here you come coming in. But now
Oh,
she,
that's
she
great.
cool though.
Yes. So as we wind down, tell you have the final. You have the final word. What do you want to say about the importance of voting and all, Omar?
Again, you know, vote for yourself, vote for your community. Uh,
Yes.
Now is our time, and our time is now. I
Yes.
know people may have told us that we are insignificant. I just want to let everybody know you're not insignificant. You
Yes.
mean a lot, you know, and you have a valuable story, and it's
Yes.
time for us to speak. You know, for the things that we need. No one can advocate for us like we can advocate for ourselves. So now is our time, and our time is now. Go to PhiladelphiaVotes.com. If there's anything I could do to assist you, please let me know. My email is omar.sabir@phila.gov. That's our
What's the
personal
phone
email,
number? What's the phone
Omar.
number? How they can reach your office to get help if they need help?
So right now we're doing 311.
Okay,
Uh,
311. Okay,
the
that's
call
easy.
volume, our things like got our regular phone system went down, so we had to enlist help with 311.
Okay.
So that's how you kind of get to our office. But I'm real good with the emails though. Omar.sabir@phila.gov. Let me know what your problem is. And then again, we have these satellite locations. Okay. We're going to have 17 locations starting tomorrow
Yes.
where you can walk in and you can ask all the questions you have. We're open 7 days a week. Go to
7 days.
PhiladelphiaVotes.com and get information on all your voting needs. And again, we're here to serve you.
Thank you so much, Omar. Thank you so much for taking time. I know you have a busy day today, and I appreciate you taking time to meet for Convo with the CEO. Thank you so
Sure.
much, Omar.
Anytime. Thank you.
All
All right, now.
right.
Peace.
See you later.
See you later.
See you. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I hope you were inspired and informed as much as I was with our guest, Omar Sabir, City Commissioner. He was wonderful. Thank you so much for supporting us. We'll see you next Monday. Tomorrow, we'll be here with Entrepreneur Spotlight. We have a wonderful Entrepreneur Women Spotlight tomorrow at 6 o'clock. On Wednesday, we have our hip hop dance class. Thursday, our yoga. And Saturday will be our cooking class. So, Odune 365, we have an array of virtual programming. We ask that you support us, like our YouTube page, subscribe to our YouTube page, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.